and here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
You are looking at a live shot of a Vulcan Centaur VC4 rocket poised at Space Launch Complex 41, carrying the United States Space Force SF-87 mission. Good morning, everybody. I am EJ, your master of ceremonies for tonight's launch. Or, well, it's tonight for me, but it's this morning. It's really this morning because it's really, really early. And I will be taking you through this countdown, and hopefully we get to see some action out at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station tonight. I am joined by my buddies out in the field. We have Sawyer Rosenstein out in the field. Sawyer, are you there?
I am very much here. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm over on the Space Force side for today's launch. It's a little bit breezy, but it is beautifully clear skies, which means we will hopefully get a gorgeous show from Vulcan.
Excellent. Excellent. Also joining us out in the field, we have Max Evans. Max, how copy?
Solid copy, EJ, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to, at least from my perspective here, from the Kennedy Space Center here on the Space Coast of Florida. It seems like Vulcan is allergic to launching in the normal daylight hours, so here we are again for Vulcan Centaur's fourth flight, and of course, it is at night. Flight at night, I guess, is a poetic way to put it. I don't know. It's early in the morning, folks. This is a borderline 3 a.m. Starlink hour. Actually, no, it literally is. It's 3:14 a.m. right now. But it is a wonderful night to be out. The skies are very clear. Plenty of stars above. As Sawyer said, it is a bit breezy, but we are hoping to see Vulcan off in just over 1 hour.
Excellent. Excellent, Max. That's good to hear. So we also have D Wise and Jerry Pike out in the field, providing us with some live camera shots, and then pulling the levers and flipping all the buttons in the background. We have Kevin Michael Reed on production. So, you guys know the drill. You have a question, you want to talk about this rocket, you want to learn about it, we're here. We're here for the duration. We are sitting currently at L minus 1 minute 7 on the dot. 1 hour and 7 minutes on the dot, excuse me. I'm going to take another sip of coffee now. So, Sawyer and Max, Max, you said the sky was clear tonight. Is that all we've been hearing? We should be good to go, right? Like, we'll see where this kind of takes us.
I mean, yeah, so far the weather is looking really good, apart from just a bit of some wind here on the ground. We've been hearing occasional call-outs over the PA system here at the Kennedy Space Center for an 18-knot steady-state wind advisory, which is not... It's not the end of the world by any means. Rockets have flown in worse than that before, but that does mean that it is plenty, or there is a bit of a breeze around the Space Center as a whole. But of course, with Atlas and Vulcan rockets alike from ULA being pretty robust compared to wind, it is really not that much of a concern. But the forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron based over at the Patrick Space Force Base was still forecasting a 95% probability of favorable weather for liftoff this evening in tonight's 2-hour launch window. It opened at it will open at 3:30 a.m. in about 14 minutes from now, but the current T0 is 4:22 a.m. local time here on the East Coast. But everything is looking good. Of course, we don't have to worry about booster recovery weather or anything like that, because of course Vulcan is expendable. Sad face. But yes, everything else is looking fantastic. Skies are clear. There are 3 rockets currently vertical at 3 simultaneous launch pads. We have, of course, the Space Launch System, our next moon rocket vertical over at Launch Complex 39B. Then we have Vulcan Centaur, as you see on your screens, over at Space Launch Complex 41. And then you have Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon vertical over at Space Launch Complex 40 for the launch of Crew 12, currently net the Friday morning, or technically tomorrow morning, because it is Thursday. Golly, it's early in the morning. But very exciting times to have all 3 vehicles vertical like this. We don't get views like this very often, let alone with SLS in the picture, so it is certainly a real treat.
Space Coast is definitely hustling and bustling. I'd love to see it, Max. I don't know about you. Love to see it.
This is the dream, dude. This is what we've been talking about for years now with Missile Rail coming back. And this is we're just getting started. We still have to get Pad A back online for Falcon Heavy and Starship, hopefully by the end of the year. We need to get 37 up for Starship, and then we need to get 14 and 16 up, both for Nova and Terran R alike. And of course, we have Blue Origin and New Glenn from 36 as well. So it's all coming back, dude.
Yep. I don't know about you. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a space flight fan. So anyway, we talked about all these other rockets that are active on Missile Row. How about we talk about the one that you see on your screen here? This is a Vulcan Centaur VC4. And I got Sawyer to give you all the details about ULA's basically brand new rocket. Sawyer, take it away, my man.
Yep, this is the VC4S. So basically that stands for Vulcan Centaur, Vulcan being the main rocket, Centaur being the upper stage that they use. 4 meaning the 4 solid rocket boosters on the side, which if you've seen Atlas, they use what's called the GEM 63 boosters. These are the GEM 63 XL, so even bigger and even more powerful and even XLer. Then, of course, there is the S, which is the size of the fairings. They have 2 different sizes. There is the standard, and then there is the long. So that is the S at the end of it. So that's what all of that means. But yes, so it has those 4 solid rocket boosters. Also, to help it go on the bottom there is 2 BE4 engines, which, if you're like, wait a minute, isn't that Blue Origin's engine? Yes, actually it is. They use Blue Origin's engines here on Vulcan since they moved away from what they used on Atlas, which was Russian-made rockets or Russian-derived ones that were manufactured in Ukraine. And if you know world events, you can understand why the U.S. has moved away from that. And so that rocket will hopefully take off here, as you see, from Space Launch Complex 41, which is the same pad that Atlas launches from, and head towards the southeast.
Great.
I actually have a fun fact real quick, actually, both Sawyer and
Sure.
AJ. So, Vulcan Centaur is capable of being equipped with up to 6 of those GEM 63 XL solid rocket motors. Currently, as obviously Sawyer just mentioned, it only has 4. But even with only 4 solid rocket motors on there, it is the most powerful launch vehicle to have ever flown from Space Launch Complex 41. And of course, this is the same configuration that flew on Vulcan Flight 3 many, many months ago. Now, I can't remember exactly when that was. But it is the most powerful launch vehicle to have flown from this pad. Anything over any Atlas, even the 551, and anything else in the Titan family, back in the Titan 3, Titan 4 era. So very exciting times, but of course there is still 2 more solids left to throw on it, and that is what we have, I guess, affectionately called the camera killer, because ULA allows us to put cameras around the pad for launches most of the time, and you can put cameras at locations at this pad that are, I guess, could be considered danger close to the flame trench. And when it's bad enough when they have 4 on there, and even with a 551 Atlas, but when they have 6 of those on Vulcan at some point, it's going to be that pad is going to be seeing some wear and tear after a few of those.
Oh yeah, that's great. I mean, hopefully we get some good shots from the remotes that you guys have set up. Max, you have remotes set up, do you not, or does D?
Actually, both of us do. So I have a couple of
Right.
cameras out there. I have also a few in reserve because we still have to set up for Crew 12. If all goes well, we should actually be setting up for that just a couple of hours after picking up from this mission, if all goes well. But D also has, I think, 4 cameras out there. I have 2 again because I have some in reserve for crew. But yes, it is always a treat to go out there. It seems like that we don't have that opportunity as much as we used to nowadays. But again, with everyone trying to launch as much as possible and moving into, I guess, quote unquote airline like operations, you don't just every single flight should not be an occasion at that point if you're flying that often, right? So it's either way. To get back to your question, yes, we do, and it is a treat, and we are hoping that they are just far enough out of harm's way to grab what we. Oh my goodness, speech is hard at 3 a.m. Grab what we are hoping for.
Yeah, no, I understand the speech being hard at 3 a.m. Well, that's great. Hopefully we get some really good pictures. So, guys, we're currently 59 minutes and 20 seconds out from the launch of the SF-87 mission. I am going to get into some support here real quick. That support queue is piling up. You know how I don't like that here. So I'm just going to pop through real quick. We got Gabriel SM for becoming a PadRat member. Thank you very much, Gabriel. We appreciate it. PDR becoming a PadRat member. ARP with, I am probably not saying your name right, ARP. I apologized. But you did upgrade to Red Team membership, which we do appreciate a lot. Thank you very much. Jay DeLoach here, becoming a Capcom member. Appreciate you. We got Omar Prado becoming a PadRat member there. And then we got Aloha from Kansas with a $10 super chat. Love it. Love to see it. Love to see it. Thank you very much. Turtle Sanctuary reporting in from the Wyoming coast. We are go for launch.
I love how that's still going.
Adrian's never going to live that down, is he? It's just, that's not happening. It's, you know what? I'll probably keep making the joke. We got Chromatic gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you very much. We got Flippers gifting 5 Red Team memberships. XD9, 10 Red Team memberships. And Kalia Marie becoming a PadRat member. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right. So, shall we get down to the questions, gentlemen? I think so.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I got one. Max, you seem keen. So we got a question from Terrence the W3438, who's asking, what is the most launches from KSC in a 24-hour period? That's a really good question.
2, I think, is the current in a 24-hour period. 2. I think there have been multiple occasions now where there have been 2 launches on the same day through a combination of both being SpaceX and then one being SpaceX and then one from ULA. And if memory serves, there's also Blue Origin with New Glenn, and then there was a Starlink on the same day as well, if not the same night. But there have been 2 within 24 hours on multiple occasions now, which is kind of startling, but also that's just the way spaceflight operations are going nowadays. It is the world's premier spaceport, and it is obviously demonstrating that capability as clear as it possibly could. And there's still more people to come and more rockets to fly. It's not uncommon anymore for SpaceX to launch, I think, one from each of their pads within maybe a 24-hour period, or at least a 36-hour period now as well. Of course, when things are running normally, they just recently had that quite short stand down due to an anomalous behavior from a Falcon 9 upper stage not being able to properly deorbit itself. And there has been somewhat of a delay in, I guess, the quote-unquote normal Starlink launch cadence here, because 39A, as we just saw recently today, is officially no longer able to support NASA crew missions or just crew missions in general, because the original crew access arm over there for Falcon was just removed today after being, I guess we were on wait. We were waiting for that for about a week now. So all crewed launches have been moved to 40, and with 40 already being the primary launch complex for Falcon 9 and of course Starlink missions, whenever a Crew Dragon is out there, everything else is on pause. So until Crew 12 and Dragon get off the ground, we will not see a return to, I guess, a normal Starlink cadence. But hopefully that should be no more than maybe 2 or 3 days away. So fingers crossed.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. I got another question here from Smolt Cali. And, forgive me if I'm not saying that right. Sawyer, I'm going to send this one over your way if you're so keen. Smolt is asking, is there any reason why Vulcan has 4 small SRBs instead of 2 large ones? Think like Titan or SLS. Why 4 small ones?
Because, I mean, they're very powerful for their size, and these are larger, again, than the ones that we're used to seeing for Atlas, which were the GEM 63. These are the XL, so they're actually a little bit larger. As much as you talk about being small, they are still a bit on the larger side. And just like with Atlas, you can kind of mix and match as you need, which was been ULA's selling point for a while, that we will customize the rocket to whatever you need. So that's why they offer variants of Vulcan that are 0 solids, 2, 4, and 6. So rather than only having the option of 2 really big ones, they give you the option as the customer to basically pick what you want. How much do you need? In a way to try and save money. I mean, obviously it's different when you compare it to SpaceX for the cost, but for ULA amounts to save money, let's say.
Okay, cool. We have a blog update here from United Launch Alliance themselves saying that the weather is green. Check of the weather conditions at Space Launch Complex 41 shows we remain green across the board. Final assessment is coming up in 25 minutes from our launch weather officer. All right, so sitting here at L-5338, we are looking green for a launch thus far. They'll check back in at L-25. But good news to see this candle light hopefully tonight. Let's see how it plays out. All right. Max, I got a question for you here that's coming from Polish MF, asking what is the performance difference between the standard GEM63 and GEM63XL SRBs?
Ooh. So I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but I want to say there is an increase in thrust by about. Go ahead, Sawyer.
I'm sorry, I have the numbers in front of me. That's why I didn't mean to jump in. It is the stretch version, and it has a 10% greater total impulse than the ones that we're used to seeing on Atlas. Let me see if I can find in here the numbers for the people that like all the techie stuff.
Do you believe that the XL is making 455,000 pounds of thrust, which is about 2,000 kilonewtons for the metric folks? That is a very high amount of thrust for an SRB of that size. I mean, that's the thing about, well, Sawyer's getting those numbers. That's the thing about SRBs. You know, you're going to get pretty dang good power to weight with one of these things.
Yes. Very much so.
They're a little firecracker, minus the cracker part at the end.
I mean, Vulcan flight too.
Yeah, well, we did have an observation. No, we didn't. Sawyer, do you have those numbers for us?
The official Vulcan user guide does not give exact numbers, but it does say the maximum launch vehicle thrust at liftoff is over 3.3 million pounds, with the combination of the BE-4 engines, each delivering 2,446.5 kilonewtons of sea level thrust, and 0, 2, 4, or 6 Northrop Grumman Space Systems GEM 63XLs.
I think the VC4 in particular produces around 13,000 kilonewtons of thrust. So it's all. I mean, what was that? 3.2 or 3.3 million pounds of thrust, Sawyer?
3.3, yeah.
That's already incredibly powerful. I mean, I'm genuinely surprised that they're able to contain that amount of thrust in a flame trench as, I guess, seemingly small as the one over at 41. I mean, it's obviously gargantuan. It's huge. But for the amount of thrust that is actually produced and diverted, it seems kind of undersized. But I'm not an engineer. ULA obviously knows their launch pad very well. I do not. I just visit there from time to time with a camera. So yeah, that's either way. It's a very, very powerful vehicle. And again, to this point, the most powerful vehicle to fly from pad 41 to this point.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that after launch, if you've ever been out to a launch pad afterwards, especially with Vulcan and stuff, and Atlas as well, there is a lot of concrete that is thrown around.
Yes.
From where the flame diverter is at the base of the rocket, there is just a giant stretch of grass and dirt that is absolutely leveled and chunks of concrete everywhere. So it's quite dangerous. And then add in the solid rocket boosters, which leave a nice little rain that if you touch it without gloves will make your fingers go tingly.
That is also heavily dependent on the wind conditions, because there are times where if you put your camera in the right spot, you won't get any of that exhaust product on your cameras, and then there are times where you have cameras in the wrong spot and it just gets completely covered. It's pretty gross. Also, I think the first thing you notice actually getting back to the pad to pick up your cameras is the smell. And I think Sawyer, you can also recall this as well. It smells like very, very strong car batteries. Like it's this very pungent, metallic. It's very strong. Like it gets very, very deep into your nostrils. It's among the most powerful smells I've ever smelled. I guess to this point. And you don't want to be spending too much time out there because it is very, very strong. And again, if you're not careful with handling your cameras with gloves or without gloves, and you happen to wipe your eyes or your lips, your eyes will begin burning, and then also with your lips tingling. It's very, very nasty stuff.
Yeah, not that we've ever had to learn from experience on that. No.
I mean, I've been pretty good about it so far. I mean, there's been one time where I've wiped something off my forearm, and my forearm was kind of itchy for a while. But I haven't wiped my eyes or my mouth like that yet. I've been very cognizant of that because it is genuinely very, very, very toxic stuff. Because once you have the exhaust product exiting the solid rocket boosters, mixing with the water, it then becomes essentially hydrochloric acid, which is highly corrosive and toxic to humans. So either way, it's if you ever have the chance to have cameras out at Pad 41 for Atlas and or Vulcan with the combination of solid rocket boosters, wear gloves, please. Do yourself a big favor and wear gloves.
Okay, don't touch the rocket fuel. All right, great, good safety tip. Yes. You're learning how to be safe and learning new information here on the NSF streams.
We are here to help.
We are here to help.
Safety is our top priority.
All right, so we're sitting at L minus 47:53 here. 47 minutes 53 seconds and counting down here for the Vulcan VC4S SF-87 mission for the United States Space Force. I'm going to keep raking through the questions here, gentlemen, if you guys don't mind. All right, so Sawyer, I'm going to tee this one up for you. This is coming from Adrian-Wu here, who's asking, do we know when we'll see Vulcan launching with 6 SRBs? So when will we see that VC6 version?
I believe, if I'm remembering rightly, and Max double-check me on this, I think they will start to use that for Amazon Leo, which formerly Kuiper constellations. They're going to use the most powerful Vulcan that they have to be able to launch all of those.
Yes,
so
correct.
soon, hopefully, when we get to see Amazon Leo, although ironically, the next launch for Amazon Leo is coming up within the next 24 hours, and that is on an Ariane 6 out of French Guiana.
That Ariane 6 is also the first Ariane 6 to launch with 4 SRBs. It has 4 attachable SRMs on that one, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So we're seeing new versions of Vulcan and new versions of Ariane 6 with the result of Amazon Leo. So we're getting some cool stuff out of it, I have to say.
Okay. So I see a couple of questions asking what, in the chat over there, asking what is launching on this thing. So this is the SF-87 mission for the United States Space Force. Sawyer, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the payload here? I mean, it's a Space Force payload, so it's a U.S. government payload. So do we know what it is? Do we not know what it is? What is it? Is it classified?
We know what it is for the most part. Of course, there's going to be payloads and things on it that we won't know for sure, but the main things on here is the Geosynchronous Space Situational Awareness Program System Satellites, GSSAP. So that's what you see on the ticker there. Thank you. For GSSAP 7 and 8. ULA has been the one to solely launch all of these GSSAP missions, which the main thing is to get them into geostationary or geosynchronous orbit. Excuse me, it's in the name there. And basically, you know how we have all of these things that they're adding into GPS satellites and stuff to prevent them from getting hacked and to deal with GPS jamming and things like that? This is kind of the geosynchronous version of that. The goal is to basically detect and check disturbances or threats that might be happening in the geosynchronous environment, which is basically you put a satellite up and it spins about the same rate as the Earth, so it's kind of over the same area as it orbits. So we've got that, and then there's some other payloads that are flying along with it. So this one's actually quite a bunch of stuff on it. It includes there's an acronym in an acronym, the ESPA ring, which is the EELV Secondary Payload Adapter Ring. So that will also go into geosynchronous orbit, and basically it allows the Space Force to put on additional payloads, including ones that will be used to test out maneuvering systems and different types of kind of propellants and thrusting and things up in geosynchronous orbit, and probably other things that they can't tell us, and if they did, they would have to kill us.
Classified.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Yeah, it's on a need-to-know basis, and guess what, guys? We don't need to know. We don't need to know. Anyway, so I saw a couple of other people ask, it says L minus, right? Up in the top left corner, we can see the countdown here, and it's L minus 42 minutes, 54 seconds, or 43 minutes, 54 seconds. Sometimes it's T, sometimes it's L. Max, do you know what the difference between those are, other than them being two different letters?
Well, they are two different letters, EJ, in case you didn't know.
You're not wrong.
So essentially what they are, L minus is essentially referring to either the opening of the launch window or the opening of, or I guess, a period of time of when they would be able to launch. In this case, the launch window actually opened 8 minutes ago, technically, but I guess L minus being, they are still counting down to roughly the 4:22 time frame. And that is the current, I guess, targeted T0 that they have listed so far. So I'm a little confused as to why it's still L. But usually T minus is when they have an official targeted actual T0 time that will serve as their actual T0 time for. That was a completely botched explanation. So T minus is when you have an exact time set for liftoff. That is not when. That is not going to refer to the opening of a launch window of any sort. It's either that time or you shift into some launch window. So in this case, they're still counting down to, I guess, the opening of a sub window in the already 2-hour launch window, which goes until about 5:30 a.m. Local time here on the east coast of Florida. So we should see T minus take over at some point soon. Yep. Don't know exactly when, but so do you have more
yeah,
info
because
on
that blog post that was up on the screen while you were explaining it actually kind of answered the question with you too. So as they said, this is Vulcan launch control T minus 15 minutes or L minus 45 minutes and counting. So like you were talking about counting down to the launch window at that point, that L clock is not going to stop. That will continue to count, whereas the T minus allows for built-in holds. So as they're coming up on the T-minus 7-minute mark in the count, that is where is the planned built-in holds. So that's basically the point there is once they give the go for launch coming out of that hold, then the T and the L are exactly the same. So in doing so, it gives them time to troubleshoot things if they need to double-check all of their systems, go over everything, and then hopefully give a confident go for launch when we get the poll. And the nice thing about ULA is that they gave a nice, loud poll that we actually get to hear, unlike SpaceX just using buttons at their desks.
ULA is very, very particular about the time that they swap over from L minus to T minus. I remember, so obviously for Vulcan, we can see that the hold goes into effect at T minus 7 minutes. I think for Delta, it was T minus 4 minutes, and Atlas may have been the same. So very unique timing system they have. I mean, obviously it works. I mean, their rockets do get off the ground pretty well. And Vulcan, to this point, has actually proven to be a remarkably punctual launch vehicle. This only being its fourth flight so far, hoping to keep up with that track record. But also, EJ Sawyer, if I'm not mistaken, we also have another launch coming up, actually, maybe during this launch window, of a rather unique vehicle that hasn't flown in 3 years.
Is that a Proton rocket?
I believe it is.
Wow.
That's an antique. Look at that thing.
It's an antique.
Well, they kind of can't launch Soyuz right now after the whole incident with the crew where a part of the base fell out underneath into the flame trench. She said the thing and then caused damage, and they've been able to use the launch pad since, so they got to launch something.
Protons aren't even made anymore. This is very much like, Delta IV Heavy on its way out. They stopped manufacturing it, and they made all of them, and like Atlas V as well. The Atlas V production has been stopped for a number of years now, but we still see them launch because they, they had the Q. That's the same thing with the Proton rocket with the Russians. That rocket is discontinued in like 2021. That's why I'm sitting here looking at an antique. Now, that launch is for the viewers. We got a live shot. That's Electro L N degree to the N degree 5. It's just Electro LN 5. That is a Russian geostationary weather satellite, and we are getting their feed coming through there right now. That thing is about. Am I looking at that right? Do we see a 10-minute launch right there? 10 minutes to launch?
So. Yep. And Proton is one of the most unique vehicles to see fly because every single stage on board runs on hypergolic fuels, meaning you don't need a source of ignition, because when both the fuel and the oxidizer come in contact with each other, they ignite, and that's why I think that is the actual definition of hypergolic propellants. So it's incredibly efficient and reliable, but also those fuels are incredibly toxic. And when you have, it's a different story when you have, say, the upper stage of your launch vehicle or smaller boosters using said hypergolic fuels. But Proton, literally, that is the only, it only uses hypergolic propellants. And Proton is not a small vehicle either. So if there ever was to be a whoopsie with it, like happened a few years ago, where I guess an was installed upside down.
NSF all the time.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, D, you're hot micing.
I know I'm from Ireland, so
sorry about that, everybody. But yes, so
what?
Proton
Installing something upside down, maybe, and then the rocket not knowing which way is up. No, that would never happen to a Russian rocket.
Never happen. And it was. No, that would never happen. But if that was to happen and the rocket hit the ground, that is a lot of propellant and toxic gases and such going into the air and maybe towards people. That's obviously not good. So that is why I guess RP-1 and LOX are the much more favored propellant combination in Russia, with Soyuz and the Angara launch vehicle as well. But Proton is still a beast in itself, and to see one fly again is a treat. It is one of the rockets that I still want to see and photograph before it goes completely, although I don't know when that is going to be. So I really love Proton.
Actually, do you guys want to hear something pretty cool? This is some little tidbit of fact that I know off the top of my head about Proton. Not only are those engines in the first stage, there's 6 of them in the first stage. They're RD 0, not as it is. It's a RD250, I think. It doesn't matter. Those are stage combustion cycle hydrolox. So think about that, or not hydrolox, hypergolic. I apologize, guys. It's a little bit late. Those are stage combustion in the first stage for Proton. Stage combustion hypergolic. That's what I'm trying to say. I swear. Which is actually super interesting when you think about it. You have engines that use a more modern engine cycle, like, the B4 on the Vulcan rocket that you see on the screen there, which is a oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle using methane and liquid oxygen. So it's methylox, oxygen-rich stage combustion. And then you have the space shuttle engine, which are on SLS. Those are RS-25Ds, technically. That's just north of the pad, north of Slick 41 here.
Yep.
And those are using fuel-rich stage combustion cycle with hydrolox. Right? So we have all these different stage combustion cycles, and then you got Proton sitting on the pad over there with a hypergolic stage combustion cycle. That is a way to do things for sure. It's Max, it's definitely a little bit old school there, but that's Hey,
it's old
old
school.
tricks are the best tricks.
Yeah, I mean, it's old school, but it works, and it's one of the most unique, I guess, launch sequences to see kick off, because we've become used to seeing the RS-25 spool up for 3 to 4 seconds before launch. Same with the BE-4s and also the Raptors on Starship. The engines on Proton, they ignite a lot. So the time between ignition and first motion, you would normally guess, or you would at first, I guess, be mistaken, because first motion is essentially right at first, or how am I going to word this? First motion is like basically right when ignition happens. Like there is almost no spool up time. It's remarkable. And also the actual flame trench design that it uses is very similar to what we currently see both here at Launch Complex 39A for Starship, and of course also in Pad 2 and Starbase. So in a way, it's kind of like a preview as to how a true bidirectional flame diverter will look for a vehicle of this size. So yeah, it's a very, very unique launch vehicle, and some people call it ugly because those are not boosters on the first stage there. Those are just actual tanks. But I still love it. It's unique. It's old and unique, but it works very well.
Yeah, and I did get some clarification. Those are RD-253s. They are stage combustion cycle hypergolic, which is pretty crazy for a hypergol thing. Max, another thing is, if you guys are looking at the first stage on Proton right there, it looks like those are a bunch of attachable boosters, but they're not. Those are actually fuel tanks sitting on the side. And they don't come off either. The whole first stage, per that hot staging ring, which is that truss structure on top of where the boosters or the quote-unquote boosters nose cones kind of come back in, that is a hot staging ring like Starship, right? And the first stage is actually made up of, well, basically a bunch of smaller hypergolic tanks. And those hypergolic tanks, fun fact, those are shipped there on locomotives, and the rocket is actually assembled at the pad. They put together the first stage. The reason why is because it's easier to move that thing via train than it is to move it via airplane, or, well, there's obviously no turning basin and no Wyoming coast here at Baikonur. It's in the middle of a desert, right? So everything with the Russian space program, guys, is actually built around their railroads. It's built around broad gauge, which is a 1600 millimeter gauge for railroad. It's basically the width between the two rails. You can see the rails actually on the right screen there. So everything is built around that. So that stage, that first stage is made up of a bunch of different tanks that they actually bolt all together, and the reason that they are the size that they are is because they're designed to move on Russian railroads. Same thing with Soyuz, believe it or not. Soyuz boosters are very, very similar diameter in size to the pieces that you need to put Proton together. And yeah, it's all centered around railway infrastructure, which I think is cool. That wouldn't be the first time we've seen that. Space Shuttle SRBs, SLS SRBs. The SRB's diameter for SLS and for the Space Shuttle are based around being able to move it around on railroad tracks because they're segmented SRBs, which is pretty cool.
And also, Falcon 9's diameter is set based on its ability to be transported on standard U.S. highways. So it's not entirely uncommon to have a rocket's size and design be dictated by how it's actually transported to and from its launch sites or various other testing facilities as well. Because Falcon 1 could fit on a C-17. Of course, Falcon 9 cannot. It is much too big. So yeah, actually, if you want to get super cliche, EJ, actually the diameter of the SRBs for both the shuttle and SLS were dictated by the diameter of a horse's bottom way back when. And if we
want to play 6 degrees of separation through history, yeah, Roman chariots. Roman roads denoted the Stephenson gauge for our railroads over here in the United States, which is 4 foot 8.5 inches. So the SRB diameter can trace its roots through history back to Roman chariots 2,000 years ago. Just Max, I think that's super cool. But anyway,
we do trying to wake up Chris Bergen by mentioning horses.
Yeah, no. Horses and shuttles.
Horses and shuttles.
Now. We have to say it 3 times fast. We have to look in the mirror. No, he'll be like, "Oh, I'm here." All right. So, hey, guys, we certainly appreciate you staying up early or getting up early for to enjoy this launch with us. Well, 2 launches. We got 2 launches because we got Proton in less than 2 minutes here. But, you know, I'm not normally one to do this. If you guys want to hit that thumbs up button, maybe we could get going in the algorithm, and maybe the mysterious YouTube algorithm will actually, you know, do something for a change. Do we know how it works? No, we don't know. We don't want to know. But maybe hitting that thumbs up button will help. I don't know. Do it. If you could do us a solid. We want to get the word out on spaceflight, and we appreciate it. We would appreciate it. Anyway, here we go. We're looking at Proton.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
This thing, when it goes, it's going to go.
It's a very violent ignition sequence. It's
Absolutely.
very it's quick, it's violent, and you will see how fast Proton gets off the ground right away. And that the exhaust being flowed out of that bidirectional flame diverter is beautiful. Perhaps a preview of what we can expect for Starship going forward. Yes, baby. Look at that.
And that is a liftoff of the Electro L N 5 launch, launching on a Proton rocket out of the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Proton spreading its wings as it takes off out of the Kazakh steppe in Baikonur. Got a good call for guidance there. All systems on the carrier rocket are looking good. 50 seconds in, good guidance. All systems on the launch vehicle are green. The machine is operating normally, I think is what he said, I'm pretty sure.
Just a speck in the sky now.
Yep. Полет нормальный, so guidance is good on the rocket.
That was rather good, EJ.
Спасибо. Okay, you should have staging there, second stage ignition. All parameters on the carrier vehicle are normal. Everything's still normal. Now, we do got an animation on your screen for the Proton launch here, guys, and carrier rocket is good. This is not a telemetry-driven animation. This is just a straight-baked animation, which means it's not necessarily what's going on, and that is piped-in sound. But the calls are actually right. The calls... Okay, ascent program looks good. All systems on the carrier rocket and guidance is looking good. Guidance system is good. So, once again, everybody, we have the Proton Electro L N5 launch on the left screen here, and we have Vulcan Centaur VC4S launching the SF-87 mission for the United States Space Force on the right frame here. We got 2 rocket launches happening early this morning at the same time. Now, granted, where the rocket launched from and the Proton rocket launched from in Baikonur, it is daytime over there. It's actually early. It's basically late morning at this point over there. But Proton ascent seems to be good.
And worth noting, by the way, that Vulcan is at T-minus 7 minutes and holding. This is a built-in hold. This is expected. And the next thing after that will hopefully be a go, no-go poll about 9 minutes before launch.
We've also gotten an update from the blog that weather is go. Everything is looking good on that front.
So actually, STEM Nerd is asking over in the chat, if it launches out of Baikonur heading southeast, where do the boosters impact? So when they launch heading due east out of Baikonur, STEM Nerd, they actually fly on a slight northeast trajectory. The reason why they do that is to go around mainland China. So they run kind of a dogleg trajectory. They do that with the Soyuz launches too, so the Soyuz boosters don't come down in a foreign country. People generally don't like it when you launch rockets and they come down in not, in their territory. That they got a word for that. It's not a good one. It's not something I can repeat in polite company.
To the gulags with you.
Also, recent update from the blog, like just now, upper level winds have been verified acceptable for launch.
Great. That's good news for the Vulcan Centaur launch on the right screen here. And on the left screen, we're looking at the Proton launch that launched out of Site 8124 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. That is a Russian geostationary satellite, Electro LN5. Fairing separation confirmed.
You know what,
Yep,
EJ? Go ahead. Go ahead, Sawyer.
No, I was just going to say, with the upper level winds, it's worth noting that we had that wind warning earlier. Some people were concerned. Many rockets have launched in that solid state wind warning, so to speak. It's when it gets above a certain level that it becomes a concern. Obviously, it is not today, and upper level winds also acceptable.
And while we had Proton on the left-hand side of the screen there, I was just going to say, it's a unique time to be here in such a spaceport, watching another rocket launching from another spaceport across the world, because it shows you just how wide of a variety of rockets that are currently up and flying and working. Of course, we had Proton, which is a rather old design and runs completely on hypergolic propellants. Then, of course, we have Vulcan Centaur on your screens, which runs on a combination of methane and liquid oxygen on the first stage, hydrogen and oxygen on the upper stage on Centaur, and then of course has the option of 2 to 6 GEM 63 solid rocket motors. Then over on pad 40, you have Falcon 9, which is entirely Keralox. And then you have, of course, the Space Launch System over at 39B, which runs on Hydrolox and solid rocket boosters. So a wide variety of technology on display here of all ages.
And fun fact, this is actually the second time in a row where Vulcan has launched, and there was another launch that happened during the same stream within the final hold prior to the launch. So just noting, last one, that was Ariane 6. Now we have the one from Roscosmos, and Ariane 6, again, still scheduled to launch later today, as we see the moon rising, and the crowd slowly chants, "Moon, moon, moon."
That's a beautiful waning crescent there. That's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, you love to see it. It's just great, good times. We got shots of the moon, we got shots of rockets, we got rockets launching from other spaceports, we got everything here. This is good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, I'm just going to get through a little bit of the support queue here, if we don't mind here. So, Lady Inui became a Red Team member. Thank you very much. Do appreciate it. Apocalypse Cowboom gifted 5 Red Team memberships. That's an awesome name. And then we have Mr. Fluffy with a $10 super chat. Things learned this evening. Don't lick Vulcan. Orange Proton smoke bad. EJ makes SRB puns. Max, do me a solid. West Coast is still best coast. Agree to disagree. And thank you to the 6 of you for staying up. Coffee is needed. Oh, I've been nursing a coffee this whole time, Fluffy. Don't you worry.
Caffeine
I'm going caffeineless on this. This is all pure adrenaline and energy and love of the game.
Oh, aren't you
You
so
do it for the
special,
love of
Sawyer?
the game.
Aren't you so special?
I am. Thank you, Max.
We do it for the love of the game. That's why we're all here at 4 a.m, ready to see some candles get lit.
This is not our first rodeo of being up at this time of night for a launch. It just so happens that the rocket launching at this time of night is not a Falcon 9 and is not a Starlink mission. So that in itself is very exciting.
Yep. And also, I see people joking, we're at the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent. No, that's SpaceX. But it's worth noting, of course, you've been seeing the venting on the screen, which is totally normal, as they've already loaded up the rocket. Stage 1 with the, they call it liquid natural gas. It's basically just methane and liquid oxygen. And then the Centaur upper stage with hydrogen and oxygen. And you'll notice there is that flame. That has been constantly going. Nothing is on fire that isn't supposed to be. That is one of the flare stacks. They use that to burn off all the excess methane that kind of boils off and goes away from the rocket just over the course of the propellant sitting in there.
Yep. So, yeah, because exactly, it's using liquid oxygen, so we got a liquid oxygen vent because they recirculate and top off the propellants. So, Sawyer, I got a good question for you, if you don't mind. If you don't mind one being teed up about Vulcan. You know, we know that there's liquid oxygen and basically methane in the first stage. What about the second stage? Resistorjet asks, what are the second and third stage engines on Vulcan, if any?
Yes. So for the upper stage, that is when we have the beauty that is Centaur. And Centaur, if it sounds familiar, it's been around for quite a while. It's gone through the Atlas family, and of course, continuing on here with Vulcan. So on the upper stage is RL-10 engines. So that's what they use for that second stage to give it that boost. And in terms of the actual Centaur, this is upgraded. There was Centaur 3 originally. Now there is Centaur 5 that's being used. Don't ask about Centaur 4. We don't talk about it. And that's what's going to be helping to get the rest of the payloads up to that geosynchronous orbit.
Okay, so no third stage here. We just got that Centaur with those RL-10s doing work up there, right?
They are powerhouses. They have been in the game for a long time. And again, the fact that they use the supercooled, or the cooled, liquid oxygen and the liquid hydrogen in there for the propellant is not something you always see with an upper stage, but it's very nice because you got a lot of specific impulse and power out of it.
I think I think Centaur to this day still remains among the highest performing and the most efficient upper stages yet flown on any vehicle, whether it be Atlas or Vulcan now. It is a remarkable piece of engineering. And of course, going all the way back to the early 60s is when Centaur became a thing. I think maybe even the late 50s. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like I should know that.
I think it was 60s with Atlas, but yeah. Anyway, it's so amazing. It's really powerful, and honestly, you might be able to see it depending on where you're located after the launch with how powerful it is, and especially though the first stage, given those solids, right, EJ?
Oh yeah, this thing's gonna light up the night sky. You'll definitely be able to see it.
I think we actually have a launch viewing map. So if you're wondering, hey, will I be able to see this? Well, here's where you'll be able to see it and also when you'll be able to see it, which is nice. Of course, originating there from the Cape and then you see those little circles going outward. It gives you how long after launch to keep an eye out for it. We're talking all the way up and down the east coast of Florida here, West Palm Beach, Miami to the south, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach up that way to the north. And even if you go along the coastlines there of Georgia and South Carolina, potentially even parts of North Carolina, you might be able to see this. So definitely go outside, take a look. And if you do happen to see it, catch a photo, catch a video, anything like that, please send it to us on the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, X, all of those. We're on them. Tag us. I love getting to see them, so definitely tag us if you happen to see it from somewhere and let me know where you saw it.
Excellent. We always like to see you guys' footage. It's pretty cool getting footage from all the different angles. Sawyer, I just want to go back a little bit more and talk about that Centaur. You were telling about how Centaur, the RL-10 engines have extremely high specific impulse, meaning they're very efficient. That specific impulse for rocket engines, Chad, is basically miles per gallon for the rocket engines. It's measured in seconds. And what it means in plain English is how fast can you shoot gas out the back of the motor. That's the really, really quick and dirty explanation of explaining it. Now, Sawyer, you said that these engines have really, really, really high specific impulse. They're very efficient. But isn't Centaur also utilizing balloon tanks that are made out of stainless steel? Now, when you think stainless steel, you think Starship, i.e. steel is, well, pretty high mass. So how is the Centaur able to do that with its stainless steel tanks? They're balloon tanks, right? If I'm remembering correctly?
I believe so, and I believe they are pressurized, but that's more of a you question than me.
Okay.
For the RL-10 in particular, I should point out, there's the RL-10As, which is kind of what we're used to seeing. These are now up to the RL-10Cs, which have about 24,000 pounds of nominal thrust. I don't know what that is in metric. I'm sorry. I'm terrible about that. But, I mean, and the fact that it can be restarted multiple times, it's a beast. You might know more of the inner workings of it. All I know is it go vroom very fast in space.
It does. Yeah. So I'll tee everybody in just in case you're wondering what I was getting at with balloon tanks. The stainless steel on that Centaur 5 is maybe a little bit thicker than aluminum foil. It's just a little bit thicker than that. The Centaur actually relies on residual pressure for structural rigidity. Think if you have a can of your favorite soft drink, right? If it's not open, you make the distinctive you know the noise, right? If it's not open and it's pressurized, it's strong enough to be able to stand on. But if you open it up, right, and you step on it, you're going to make a big mess, right? That's how Centaur is actually able to stay structurally rigid. What they were able to do with that stainless steel is make it so thin. They call them balloon tanks because it's just the pressure that's holding that whole thing together, which is actually pretty crazy. And, you guys were talking a little bit earlier about Centaur and when it first flew. So it first flew in the early 60s, and it's the brainchild of an engineer that worked at Convair named Kraft Urich. Kraft Urich worked at the Convair division, right? And he worked on the Atlas program, then he worked on Centaur. And the first Atlas Centaur launch was in 1962. And that was actually launched some early lunar missions. We were looking at that shot of the moon a little bit earlier. Atlas Centaurs launched the Surveyor missions to the moon, which is pretty cool. So that stainless steel tech is old school. Like, this is the theme of this stream is old school technology that's still relevant here. But it is, old tricks are the best tricks. We saw that Proton launch. We got balloon tanks, which have been flying since the dawn of the space age. And we got all good things here. All right. I just saw an update there that they're 14 minutes away from liftoff time of the Vulcan rocket. All 4 cryogenic tanks on the rocket are topping off to flight level. It gives us a fully fueled rocket for launch. That is coming from United Launch Alliance's blog there. Do appreciate that. Them keeping us in the loop. The countdown loop, that is. No, we're not that cool. We hear it when you hear it, guys. Yeah, actually, I got another one. Max, I will tee this one up over for you, if you don't mind, to answer another question. It's coming from Sloth here. Is Vulcan VC4S, this particular one, is it more powerful than a Delta IV Heavy?
That's a great question, man. I do not have any of these numbers teed up. I should know. But real quick, I know we are coming up on the T-minus 10-minute poll.
Prior to the status check.
Oh, here we go.
LC switch is ready.
We remain in the planned 30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, ULA launch conductor Dylan Rice will pull the team for the final go to pick up the countdown.
The launch conductor manages the launch team during the countdown.
Okay.
So poll is coming up, and real quick to answer your question, yes. So Delta IV Heavy created about 9,500 kilonewtons of thrust, and Vulcan VC4S is at about 13,000. So actually quite a bit more.
It definitely packs a punch.
L minus
This
10
little
minutes.
rocket.
Status
there
check
we go.
to proceed with terminal
10-minute
count, Vulcan systems, propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LNG.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems, propulsion. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
As gas.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Op support.
Go.
COM.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range and weather.
Go.
Launch director.
Clear to proceed.
Mission director.
This is the mission director. You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 09:22:00 Zulu.
Verified.
Polling is complete,
baby.
and the team is go for launch.
Okay, so we heard the go, no go poll there going around from ULA's Launch Control Center. They verified that the liftoff time is scheduled for 4:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Everything looks good here. We're sitting at T-minus 9 minutes and 27 seconds. Everything looks good there. That's a good sign. Chat, are you go? Chat, go? I saw a lot of goes in both chats there. There we go. Okay, so Max is gonna go out and set he has some cameras to prep. Sorry, I need another sip of coffee. I apologize. So it's just gonna be me and Sawyer here for the rest of the count. Maybe Max will be back later.
Well, I'm going to be with you till about the T-minus 3 minute mark. Yeah, I gotcha.
Oh, you're leaving me too? I'm just gonna be here alone? All right, fine. You're gonna leave me with chat? I'm just kidding, guys. I love you. Thank you for being here with us. Okay, so let's see here. All right, we are L minus 7 minutes and 33 seconds. Once again, you're looking at a shot here of a Vulcan VC4S carrying the United States Space Force SF-87 mission, poised on the pad here, set to launch in just about 7 minutes. This is a mission for the United States Space Force here, and it is going out to geostationary orbit. It's a long way away, but because it's a long way away, that means this rocket's going to pack a punch. When this thing goes, it's going to go off the pad, and it's going to go fast. Those 4 attachable SRBs on the side of Vulcan will really, really get this thing going off the pad very quickly. Okay. Once again, I just wanted to thank everybody here for staying up or getting up early this morning. I don't know about you guys. I haven't slept. Chat, let me know. Have you guys slept? Did you wake up for this one? Did you have to take a nap? I didn't take a nap. I've been up since yesterday morning.
By the way, you know what else is up right now? The T-minus clock, because the L-minus and T-minus have merged as the clock resumed at T-minus 7 minutes and counting. Now under 6 minutes, just about 6 minutes to go until liftoff.
The merging is complete. daytime plari. Sorry, I had to throw it in there. If you got it, you're the best. If you didn't, yes, I'm weird. I get it. Normal time getting up for some folks. That's great. It is not a normal time for me, man. All right.
I'm a night owl, so I'm used to it. It's fine.
I'm not. Oh, boy. Just while we're waiting here for the last bits of count, I know some of you are looking at that flame on the side going, is that okay? Is that supposed to do that? Yes. That is a purging flame. That is totally normal. They light some birthday candles for the rocket, okay? No, what those are they're gas alleviation. So hazardous gases. So this rocket is using methane, or liquefied natural gas in the first stage, and hydrogen in the second stage. The hydrogen does not want to be a liquid. It likes to be a gas. So you have to have recirculation systems built into the vehicle for tank topping. Now, on top of that, the propellants are extremely cold. And they are boiling. Like if you had a pot of water on the stove and it hit 100 C, it would boil. The propellants are at very, very low temperature, right? And very high pressure. And that makes them boil. So they naturally want to become gas, the methane and the hydrogen. So if you don't give them a place to burn off, like that flame, that nice birthday candle you see on the right-hand side of your screen, they're going to find a place that you don't want. something leak rates with SLS, something. No, that's what that flame is over there. There's one on either side of the pad. There's actually two of them. That one is for hydrogen, I believe. There's an LNG one on the other side, the opposite side of the pad, because you don't want those near each other. But yeah, if you're wondering, that birthday candle, the flame on the lower right part of your screen, perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. Okay, we're inside of 4 minutes here. 3 minute 54 seconds until launch. Once again, this is the United Launch Alliance Vulcan VC4. So it's Vulcan Centaur with 4 attachable solid rocket boosters on the side, poised on the pad to launch the SF-87 mission out to geostationary orbit.
All right, EJ, I'm going to hand this off to you. I've got the rocket in the sights of my camera lens here. Got some straight shots ready to go. This is going to be exciting. I will catch up with you once we are in flight.
All right, Sawyer, I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Good luck, chat.
Okay, so Sawyer's out. It's just me and you, chat. You're stuck with me. Sorry. All right, we're cycling between a couple of shots of Max there at the press site with all of the tracking equipment set up and ready to go. And Sawyer's actually on the Space Force side here. All right, we're sitting at T-minus 2 minutes 40 seconds until the launch of the United Launch Alliance SF-87 mission, going to geostationary orbit on this Vulcan VC4S. Once again, all the launch control teams have communicated with the mission direction teams. Everybody is good to go. Weather is clear skies all the way up. We got a great ascent corridor for the rocket, according to the 45th, or Space Force Delta 45. I was about to say 45th Space Wing, because I've been doing this for a long time. That's what it used to be. But we should be good to go for an on-time launch. Weather is green. Everybody's good to go. ULA did conduct a polling here about 8 minutes ago. Everything looks good here for a launch.
Launch enable. 135.
Okay. We're about 90
T-minus
seconds
90
out.
seconds. The launch vehicle, ground
that.
systems, payload, and Eastern Range are go for launch.
For those of you just joining us, I'm Ryan Schleter here with Abby Couture for today's live coverage.
And I'm EJ with NSF's live coverage of the SF-87 mission. Yeah, how's that for a segue? Pretty good. pretty good. Yeah, she stole my lines. You see that? You hear that? She stole my lines. Okay. 60 seconds out. In about 30 seconds, we should hear a status check, a final status check before this candle gets lit.
Green.
Range is green. Range is basically your air traffic
45.
control tower for rocket launches.
At step 3.
Step 3 indicating flight levels here. That's good. That is good news.
34. 30. BE4 start box, go. 25.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified.
Status check.
Environmental control systems are disabled on the vehicle.
Go Centaur. Go SF-87.
15.
That's the final conclusion there. All right, here we go. 10.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We have ignition. 2, 1. And liftoff of United Launch Alliance SF-87 for the United States Space Force, continuing ULA's legacy in national security space launch.
Engine parameters look good. Body rate's looking healthy. Approaching 1.5 miles in altitude.
You are hearing Daniel Brunson providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Vehicle tracking downrange as expected, 4 miles in altitude. Engine parameters continue to look healthy. Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. Body rates continue to look stable.
We are approaching burnout and jettison of the solid rocket boosters.
And good indication of SRB burnout on all 4 SRBs. Good indication of SRB separation.
Okay.
Guidance enabled.
And that
body rates return to 0.
That was the ascent
We just
there.
heard confirmation of solid
Vulcan, the Vulcan VC4S. As we just heard from the cast there was a confirmation of solid rocket booster separation. The solids didn't look the happiest during ascent there, but it seems that Vulcan is powering its way up into space here. So we have all 4 SRBs jettisoned there. And right now, Vulcan's core stage with 2 B4s is powering the ascent. It should be burning for a little bit longer. That's a beautiful, beautiful track. So once again, we are passing the 3-minute mark of launch and ascent here of the VC4S SF-87 mission from United Launch Alliance. Those SRBs did not seem the happiest, Chad. They definitely were coughing a little bit, but it seems that ascent was still nominal from the callouts that we've seen. I mean, okay, so right here, this is a shot of a telemetry-driven animation. So I know this is obviously not
42 miles an hour.
there's not something flying in formation with Vulcan, but all of these animations here are driven by what the sensors that are actually on the rocket. This is telemetry driven. So the information that ULA is getting downlinked in real time is driving that animation, meaning that is what the rocket is doing, complete with the numbers. We got our crews
This is
out
Vulcan
at the
Mission
Cape,
Control at T
still
plus 4
tracking.
minutes. We're coming up on our next mission events. Let's listen in.
Okay, here, just in about a minute, we should get up to core
Vehicle
stage
approaching 200 miles
separation.
downrange.
So
We've begun boost
just
phase
because
chill down, prepping the upper stage engines.
there we go. Just because we saw a little bit of
responding as expected.
we had a little bit of we saw some observations coming from those SRBs. We're going to
270
keep the
miles
ULA
downrange,
countdown
traveling
loop
10,000 miles per hour.
in here, just to hear what they're saying. So I'm going to try to talk around the announcers as best as I can, chat.
We've completed boost phase chill down.
Okay, we should be coming up
And
here
good shutdown.
on
We got BECO.
booster engine cutoff, or BECO for short.
Good indication of stage separation. We got pre-start on H2 and O2. And ignition. 2 good upper stage engines.
Okay, that's a good call for staging, and 2 good RL-10s on the Centaur
And good
second
indication of
stage
PLF
here.
jettison.
Another good indication of payload fairing jettison. Once again, everything seems to be working well.
This is Vulcan Mission Control at T plus 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay, once again, we're keeping their call-outs kind of tied into our streams here, guys. Just in case something went a little wishy-washy, we did observe some things with those SRBs on ascent that didn't look good, but whatever it was, it didn't affect the ascent. Vehicle still seems to be following a nominal trajectory. Sawyer, I do believe, is back with us. Sawyer, did you see those things coughing and sputtering a little bit?
I may or may not have said the word observation out loud when that happened. 'Cause it looked very, very familiar to Vulcan Cert 2, where one of the SRB nozzles decided to liberate itself. So we always see, sparks and, ice and stuff coming off of it. So that's normally in the beginning phases. So that doesn't worry as much. But the rest of it, that was a bit on the unusual side. But
So
right now there is also a large flame coming from where the pad is right now. Like large.
Oh no.
I should mention before we go down that path, if that fire is coming from the area of I believe that's the methane flare stack.
Yeah, that is
So
definitely a flare stack area.
Yeah. So I wouldn't venture too far down that path. But EJ, I don't know what you were saying on stream. I had everything deafened, but that for sure looked like another nozzle burn through. Like not long after clearing the towers again.
So what Max is referring to, guys, is the nozzles on those solid rocket motors that Vulcan use. They're GEM63XLs. We were talking about them a little bit. The nozzle is actually an ablator. They make the nozzle out of, well, it's not heat shield, but it's a similar type of similar idea. They make the nozzles out of an ablative material. The nozzles actually do burn off over time. That's how they keep them cool and prevent them from melting. I don't know if you guys noticed, rocket exhaust is kind of on the hot side. So these GEM63XLs in the past have had points where the nozzle has maybe ablated a little bit more than ULA would want it to. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that is what we saw there, but Max, you're saying that thing was, the flames are coming out the side from what I saw.
I have a photo coming for you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I have tracked enough Atlases and Vulcans now to this point. I saw a definite plume intrusion from it was from the perspective here at the press site, it was the right side booster closest to us. So it was, I guess, the right rear booster from our perspective here. I saw a jet of flame coming from the nozzle pointing inwards towards the BE4s. I don't know if it was impinging on the BE4s, but it was certainly in the direction of the BE4s. That was not. I don't want to jump down or sound hysterical, but that was not. I'm confident to say that was not normal. I noticed it very early on. It was very reminiscent, like scarily so, of Vulcan Flight 2.
Well,
Yeah, I have a full sequence coming, but I did put one shot in there. I'm trying to see if I can see it with the actual liberation of it. There's definitely a shake in the plume right as an event happens. I will say that as I'm flicking through it here. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's no problem. Now, keep in mind, guys, they obviously that you don't want pieces of the nozzle flying away. You do not want to have an observation. But it's important to note that ULA has had past missions where, well, we've tracked them here. D-Wise actually had a fantastic track of the Vulcan VC2, the second Vulcan mission, the CERT-2 mission, where the nozzle basically fell off. And that apparently didn't affect performance because Vulcan just packs that much of a punch. So the other thing to take into account is that with a mission like this, you do have a lot of, actually, you're probably not going to have as much performance stretch here as you would on that CERT-2 mission, but it seems to be that Vulcan is following a straight track. It seems to be on the right track from the numbers that we saw from ULA's telemetry-driven animation. Now, just because it's on the right track now doesn't necessarily mean that it might not be on the right track in the future, but look at the shot. If you look at the shot that Sawyer actually took, that is a lot of nozzle coming out the back. Now, keep in mind, due to the mixture of solid rocket propellant or grain that ULA uses, they can cough and sputter a bit. It happens. I'm going to go ahead and say it doesn't happen that much. But sometimes they do have a little bit of hiccups if you have, there's a bunch of things that can cause that with solid rocket motors. Go ahead, Max.
Solid rocket motors, by their nature, by what they are, burn a lot rougher than anything that is liquid fueled, and not just because, that's because the exhaust products are not just exhausted gases. You also have solid chunks of still unburnt propellant. Or just chunks of burnt propellant coming out of the nozzle and actually hitting the nozzle. It's not just gas; it's also solid material coming out as well. So they burn rough, they burn dirty, and also they burn differently depending on the ambient temperature that they are experiencing on the outside. Like for Vulcan Flight 1, it was perhaps a bit colder actually than it was now, or than it is now. But for Vulcan Flight 2, it was a lot warmer than it is now. I would say the performance of the GEM 63s tonight would be a lot more reminiscent of what we saw during Vulcan Flight 1, just due to the colder temperatures. But the burn through looked to be.
Look at that.
I hope we can pull up my angle pretty soon. It'll show it like right away. It looked awfully similar, if not perhaps a little bit worse in its direction, because on Vulcan Flight 2, it looked like the plume was coming out on the right side of the throat above the nozzle, and this time the exhaust jet seemed like it was coming straight inwards, almost towards the BE4 engine section, like very similar. This one looked like it could have been way worse. This is definite burn through. I'm seeing a photo now in the back channel from Jerry here. That is definite 100% burn through.
Oh yeah.
Everything that we're seeing, of course, is not nominal, shall we say. But as we saw with CERT-2, it was still able to put the payload in the correct orbit. So that is still an option. But yeah, this is not what we are used to seeing.
No, and certainly losing a nozzle, losing your SRB nozzle is not game over. You lose maybe 10 to 12% of your thrust by losing the nozzle, but what Vulcan had going for it this time, as you can see on your screen now, it's that the right side booster closest to us. You have 4 solids working with you this time and not 2, so you have a lot more there's a lot more solid thrust, or you have a lot more thrust to work with, and you aren't so lopsided. And the BE4s also have enough gimbal authority to correct. And from my tracking, I didn't see Vulcan cantering so severely off to one side like I had noticed on ascent for Vulcan Flight 2. So it had that going for it. But just solely based off of the plume direction and what that could have been potentially impinging on, that looked way worse. And I would, golly, that is.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, that's not.
No. Yeah, there's my sequence, by the way, of 4 shots taken successively where you can kind of see the progress of it. And in that first one, I don't know if you can tell the first one in there, there's a wobble inside of the plume. You can see it kind of shakes a bit, and that's when the rest of the detritus comes out of it.
Now, guys, I want to be very clear. SRBs do cough up and sputter, even when they're working correctly from time to time. That definitely does happen. It comes from as a explosive stabilizer, they have flakes of aluminum baked into the propellant. Think like sprinkles on a cake. That is to take up the space where there might be air bubbles that are trapped inside of your grain on your solid rocket booster. And sometimes, you get it globs up, you get chunks of it getting shot out the back. That does happen. However, with Jerry Pike's shot that we just saw, I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's not what you want. It looks to be very much a leak in the throat of one of the GEM 63s. If you see just up on the top of that frame on the right-hand side of the booster, there is flames coming out above the rim of the nozzle. They look to be coming out of the throat or what's called the aft casing. Now, these SRBs are basically a steel tube, right, with the nozzle attached, welded. Well, it's not welded. It's the aft casing kind of looks like a funnel, right, and then the nozzle is your expansion coming out the back. Now, it looks to be coming out of the throat. The throat is where basically one of the hottest parts of the nozzle, of the whole. It's called a De Laval style nozzle. Basically a convergent divergent design. Basically, the rocket looks like an hourglass. The bottom of the SRB, the aft casing looks like the top of an hourglass. The throat is the center. The nozzle is the bottom of this hourglass, right? If flames are coming out at the center, you're getting burned through at the throat, which is not great. That is going to give you a huge performance loss. That's going to give you a huge performance loss because, well, long story short, if you're not accelerating the gases through the throat out the nozzle, like through the quote-unquote hourglass part of the nozzle, and they're coming out in other places, you're not shooting as much of that gas down as you need to, and you're going to see a little bit of a performance loss. There will be a loss in thrust and or burn time. It really depends on where it burned through the nozzle, but definitely seeing some liberation of equipment on that SRB that's not supposed to be coming off of it. Yeah, that is not great.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Sawyer, what this is going to mean for Vulcan, because ULA said they had this problem figured out after Cert 2, don't you think?
And that was the whole reason they were able to launch these Space Force payloads, was because they got clearance. That's why it was called Cert 1 and Cert 2, to certify for U.S. Space Force and military payloads. So there's definitely going to be some observations done by the Space Force as well on this observation. This may put a little bit of a pause on Vulcan, which is difficult considering that they were also planning on trying to really up the cadence this year with Amazon LEO satellites.
I think also they had to, I think ULA conducted a separate test of a GEM 63XL solid rocket motor over in Utah to fully demonstrate or recertify that the booster is good to fly. I think that was also in front of Space Force DoD personnel as well. I could be a little bit off on that, but I remember ULA posting about it. It's good Lord, man. This is alarming.
Now, as far as we can tell, it does seem like it does seem like the rocket is up there. It did get up there. It got up into space. But see, what I'm wondering, and Max, this is what I mean about your performance loss. Those SRBs are needed to push that thing high enough to be able to get it to throw that satellite out to geostationary transfer. Yeah, exactly. Even Vulcan can compensate a little bit like it did on CERT 2, but this is a very high performance mission moving a satellite that far. Geostationary orbit is 23,500 miles straight up off the surface of Earth. That's a long way away. Now, keep in mind, it's Delta V, guys, for the rocket nerds, right? It's not altitude. Altitude kind of, it's semi-major axis if we're going to talk orbital mechanics here. But long story short, that's a geostationary orbit or geostationary transfer. That's a long way away. That's a real long way away. I'm wondering, Max, if they have the performance here now.
So essentially, what this means is, so the first about 45 seconds to minute in flight are among the most critical because you are traveling at relatively low speeds compared to where you need to go. And that's why the boosters are so important in getting the rocket as a whole into the upper atmosphere and above the densest part of the atmosphere. And so the less work that these solids do down low, the more work the BE4s and the RL10s have to do later on Centaur. And it looks like it's going to be okay. I'm sure that they have plenty of margin built in with Centaur for a spot like this, because losing a nozzle is maybe oh gosh, don't quote me on the number, even though I'm saying it live on air. I think it's around only, oh golly, it's give or take like 10% performance loss from your nozzle, maybe less. So it's not the end of the world to lose it. But in losing your nozzle, you have less control of your exhaust plume coming out of your solid rocket motor, thus posing further danger to the rest of the actual motor structure and anything else that would be immediately vulnerable to the heat and abrasion of the fire. And in this case, the BE4s were in direct proximity to the actual leak and nozzle liberation, as we saw. So the less work that they do down low, the more the rest of the rocket has to compensate for up top. And I don't know exactly what the margins are built into with Centaur and the RL10s on this flight in particular, and we likely won't know given the classified nature of the mission. But it's not game over. It's not, but it is still alarming to see the boosters perform like this, even on Vulcan's fourth flight, given that we thought that this issue was resolved.
I'm just going to have to butt in here because I am going to have to head out because we are on Space Force property where I am for viewing. Max, I know you'll stick with it. I did look through my photos again, and as Dee had pointed out in the back channel, there was another observation of some kind about 27 seconds in. So just something also to keep an eye on as we look through this. If I can join in on commentary later, I will, but leaving the capable hands now of EJ and Max while I keep going through shots and seeing if I can find anything more for all of you at home.
Thank you, Sawyer.
All right. Thanks, Sawyer. Thanks for being with us. We'll maybe talk to you later. Okay, so once again, guys, if you're just tuning in, we just witnessed the launch of the United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur VC4S mission, launching the SF-87 satellite to geostationary orbit. That it didn't really seem to go exactly well. We saw a little more sparks coming out of the back of the rocket than I think ULA was comfortable with, but the rocket did appear to ascend into space, about as good as you can for flames coming out the side of the vehicle on ascent. Liftoff was at 4:22 a.m. Eastern time.
Boom, right there. Oh, sorry. I'm actually watching a replay. Sorry, on X. I'm so sorry. That was very rude. EJ, I'm sorry.
There it is. Yeah, that's what they said when they watched the ascent. Boom, there it is. There's the so Yeah, we're circulating through pictures that we're getting from our teams out there. That one is from Sawyer, who you just heard on commentary a second ago. If you guys notice those sparks that are coming out the rocket on the lower left-hand shot, a lower left-hand frame of that shot, those are chunks of nozzle. Now, I will say, guys, these GEM63 boosters, GEM stands for graphite epoxy. Graphite epoxy motor. So they do carry what's called an ablative nozzle. The nozzle is basically designed to burn off. That's how they keep the nozzles cool. Rocket engines are a little bit on the warm side, so you have to do something with that heat energy. Now, some rocket engines, like the BE-4s on Vulcan, use what's called regenerative cooling, where they take some of the cryogenic fuels, which are cold, and run it through what's called a cooling channel in the throat, in the nozzle of the rocket, to keep that, to keep it from melting. Metal will melt. Rocket engine gases are extraordinarily hot. I don't think that's, new news, right? So with SRBs, you don't have any propellants to do that. So with solid rocket motor, you don't have any cryogenic propellants to be able to circulate through the nozzle. So they had to find another way to mitigate the heat energy that gets instilled into the nozzle during ascent. So the solution there for a small attachable SRB is to basically, for the space nerds here, it's to basically build the nozzle out of heat shield. So it's called an ablative material. And what ablative material does is when it burns, it outgasses like crazy, and it provides a cool channel of gas between the outside of the nozzle and the inside of the explosion coming out. Now, once again, ablators are the inner lining of the nozzle burning off. Now, if you have a liquid fuel engine, you do not want your cooling channels burning off. We have seen that from SpaceX's test program. If we go back to the early tank watching days here on NSF, that was a good time. If you've been here with us this whole time, well, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much. You generally don't want that with liquid fuel, but with solids, that does happen. Even the ones that are on SLS, those are the caster, the big caster boosters that are on the segmented ones that are on SLS, those still carry an ablator nozzle as well. And the nozzle basically burns off, once again, to envelop the inside of the nozzle as a liner with a cooler column of gas, and it also it burning off takes some of the heat energy away from the nozzle. It prevents it from burning, especially burning through. What we appear to see here with ULA, if we look at the shot from Jerry Pike, is there is some serious nozzle burn through happening on the right-hand engine. It's kind of, if you're not really kind of attuned to rocket science, you don't really understand. If you look at the right-hand solid rocket motor in this picture from Jerry, you can see that the flames are kind of going from right to left on your screen. That's indicative of fire coming out of not the end of the nozzle. Now, once again, there's a lot of rocket scientists out there on the internet. I think we can all kind of agree that if the flames aren't coming out the bottom of the rocket, you got a little bit of a problem here. Now, once again, we don't know if this affected mission performance. We haven't heard anything from ULA, as far as I can tell. So they clearly did have something, but the rocket didn't, it didn't pop. It did make it all the way up to booster engine cutoff, and then Centaur ignition, and that's, of course, where the cast kind of fell off. Like, ULA doesn't do anymore because the Department of Defense doesn't need you to know where their payloads are going, despite them saying where their payloads are going in the press kit. It does, whatever, it doesn't matter. Say nozzle again, I dare you. Oh, you're acting like I don't read the chat. Nozzle. All right. We'll say it again. Nozzle. No. So there appears to have been a little bit of anomalous behavior on the SF-87 launch. But yeah, we don't know. But either way, it was a nice launch. Max, solid rocket motor notwithstanding. Was it a good launch? Like, did it light up the sky like we're used to?
Oh yeah, so my relative position to the pad. So of course I'm here at the press site here at the Kennedy Space Center, and the launch pad essentially is just over my right shoulder. We have a behind the scenes camera off to the left and behind of me over here. The pad is off to my to my right, over my right shoulder, and I'm looking at a monitor because I'm operating, or I was operating, the big robotic tracking head tonight. Came in good handy after all. And of course, once those Gem 63s lit, it very much lit up the sky. And there was actually a patch of clouds that came over, which gave the light a second surface to bounce off of, and I guess just light everything else up even more. So it was beautiful. It was very loud, very punchy. The camera was shaking a bit, but there's always that signature sound from solid rocket boosters as well, compared to anything that is powered by a liquid propellant, and maybe except for the Raptors, or maybe on Super Heavy, because Super Heavy has a very solid like crackle. So yeah, dude. Goodness gracious. I don't want to say good flight, because I mean, I retract that. I have no doubt that Vulcan has the performance to get to where it needs to go tonight, despite what we saw. But nonetheless, it was still it was worrying behavior to see the solid rocket booster behave like that. Especially after considering, or what are words? Especially after the investigation that ULA had after Vulcan Flight 2, and also the independent firing they had in Utah of a Gem 63 XL. So, I think if I had to sum up the mission in a word so far, just purely based on what I was able to see and able to peek over on the my laptop screen with, alarming, I think might be the word.
So once again, guys, this is the NASA Spaceflight cast commentary on the United Launch Alliance Space Force 87 mission, or SF-87 mission. There, if you look at this replay, I mean, we do get a nice, beautiful shot there of ascent, but there seemed to have been a little bit of a problem from the GEM-63s, which are the attachable solid rocket boosters. Now, the rocket did ascend, and it did get up into space, as far as we can tell. We had NSF crews tracking that thing all the way up to booster engine cutoff. And the shots were beautiful, I must say. But yeah, it does raise a little bit of questions, because ULA definitely did say that they've had this problem addressed in the past, and that's part of the reason why they were able to fly this mission for Uncle Sam. Let me tell you, the Department of Defense the DoD doesn't like it when, you risk their really expensive hardware on something like this. So, I mean, Max, you did say that this booster was tested,
Yes.
but yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, clearly it was tested, but when you're operating boosters in clusters like that, you have to deal with the heat coming off of one booster, the radiant heat coming off of one booster, burning the outside of the nozzle on another one.
I can't even begin to describe how similar, now that I've had some time to reflect and just look back on it, how eerily similar that was to Vulcan Flight 2, because like Vulcan Flight 2 or Cert 2, we had a bit of a cloud patch come over, and it looked like the burn through appeared at roughly the same time, and like right when it went into the cloud layer, and the cloud layer itself was serving as sort of a filter, which dimmed the light, and we were able to see the actual nozzle and flame, or exhaust plume coming out of the solid in a lot greater clarity. And that's when the burn through happened. Like the timing in sequence to that point was eerily similar. So yeah, dude, that was like, I mean, Kevin probably heard it in the back channel on the mic. I was saying out loud, there's no way this is happening again. There's no way it happened again.
Yeah, that's clearly not what you want from a solid rocket booster like that, or an attachable SRM. Now, once again, the B4s seem to have compensated with the like Max, you said it well. You said it very well a little bit earlier. If you're going to lose a little bit of performance from the SRBs not doing SRB things, right, that you're going to have to compensate for that later with longer burn times from the B4s and from the RL10s, especially in the second stage. Even a flame out 5 seconds early on a solid rocket booster is going to translate with this type of rocket. That's going to translate to a minute burn, depending on the performance of the mission. It could be up to a minute of extra burn time on the second stage. And I'm just wondering if that performance is there. We don't know.
Oh, Kevin's tweaking with a replay. He must have seen something.
Yep. What do we got? So it's very clear that this didn't happen right away. It seemed to have gotten I've been looking at the replays myself too.
Whoa, there's debris there below the clouds there. You see that?
Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh. That's
So those were likely solid pieces or larger structural pieces from the solid rocket motor or just pieces of the nozzle that came off and were falling. Because those glow red hot for quite a while because SRB exhaust is among the hottest and of highest temperatures that rocket engines ever see.
Jeez, those are...
Wow.
Oh, D, are you here with us now?
I am indeed. That was an interesting flight.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have D Wise, one of our photographers out there that was working on media for tonight's launch. I mean, D, I gotta ask you, because I know you imaged the Vulcan Cert 2 mission, and we saw a piece of that nozzle blow clean off on that mission. Did this look like that? I mean, you're the one that saw it before anybody else did.
So it's hard to compare. I'm at a different location, a very different distance. However, looking back through my footage, and you should have some of that coming up in the replays. There's a lot to look over. Like you can see very large visible pieces of propellant burning and falling away from my view, which is significantly farther than I was last time. And the light wouldn't sort of cooperate to actually see if it was directly nozzle falling like it was last time. But I mean, in terms of the sparks, like we were used to the sparks, but I wasn't really aware until these replays just how evident the observation was.
I mean, yeah, that... Now, once again, I just want to be very clear, Chad. We don't know how that affected mission performance. I will say it's a very fair bet to say that it definitely did in some way, shape, or form. Having flames come out the side of your solid rocket booster is not really good. You need the flames to come out the bottom. Like, I don't know if you guys knew that.
Flaming end down is a pretty integral thing in spaceflight, but I also have to say, like, once again, Vulcan seemed to continue on very well, and the numbers, of course, will hopefully follow in statements on exact impacts. But I'm getting my other cards and trying to look through all of that footage to see if there's anything else we can see from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Please keep looking through. Look at that replay. Those are... I don't know if you guys can see those two sparks coming down from the 3 now. Those are pieces of the nozzle. I think we could say that pretty dang conclusively.
Okay, here's that BTS camera from behind me.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, you can see Max in the bottom right there. Let's see. Now, Max, while we're watching this, I don't mean to, it's obviously very speculative, but we did see some fires coming from the vicinity of Slick 41. They've obviously been extinguished. They're obviously out, but also at the same time, I can't help but think, did some of those chunks of nozzle fall back down, find its way into the grass and start burning things up around the pad? That has happened, right? Like, that's a thing.
I mean, Yes, but also given the point that it was at in flight, it was well into the pitch over at that point and was likely over the water. The
Yep.
big flare up of fire that we saw like right around there, that's all from the methane flare stack, and there was always a big flare up after a launch, as there is a big wash of excess methane that was being used for top off as it was boiling off before. So it's not uncommon to see. It can be alarming if you don't know what it is, because big fire next to a launch pad. Okay. Here we go. This is my tracking camera. This will tell the whole story.
All
I
right,
saw
let's see.
everything as it happened. Waiting on BE4 ignition. There we go. BE4s and solid ignition. Now watch the right side SRB nozzle, like right around the throat.
I'm waiting for it.
It's glowing a little bit there. Boom. There it is. Burn through.
That's so clear. That's so clear.
Oh, that's
wow.
Yeah, you can see that now. Oh my goodness, right at the throat. That's awful.
It's
so
like right in the same position on the throat, just on the other side compared to Vulcan Cert 2, this time with the fire seeming to be in a more intruding area to the BE4s. Obviously not entirely, because the BE4s function normally, at least from what we could see. And the angle can also be somewhat misleading, because the fire could also be coming toward me. But regardless, it's not in the same direction that was the case for Vulcan Flight 2. But yeah, there's a bit of glow there, and boom, there it is. The initial burn through. See that?
Yep. So, guys, what you're looking at there is the throat of that GEM-63 failing. That is a partial failure. Now, we don't want to put some bad juju on it, but that is straight up a failure. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts around that. Whether it affected the mission or not, we don't know. It clearly did something different than what was planned, and that really is the name of the game. I know it's going to sound ridiculous, right? But with rocket science, and being a launch provider and stuff, the name of the game is getting the rocket to do what you want it to do. If it's not doing something that you want it to do, that's not good. And I know that sounds, it's like, well, yeah, EJ, thank you for that very insightful commentary. It's not like you've been up for a day straight, whatever. No, this is anomalous behavior. This is deviant behavior, and this is a failure mode for that SRB. That's really, really, really bad, especially since prior they have tested for this, and they said that this problem wouldn't happen with an additional testing and qualification flight that ULA conducted in partnership with Northrop Grumman out in Ogden, Utah, at their test facilities, Northrop Grumman's test facilities. That is straight up throat failure. That there's no getting around that. That is, Max, you said it yourself. That's exactly what we saw in Cert 2, just from a different point. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up, like, it's not to cast like bad juju at ULA or anything, but this type of deviant engineering and allowing your rockets to fly with known failure modes like this causes issues. It causes issues. You have to make sure your engineering is airtight with stuff like this, because just because it failed now and it seemingly didn't affect the mission doesn't mean that it won't do it and pop the booster in the future. It is very possible. But yeah, that is 100% nozzle failure. That is a failure and burn through at the throat of that GEM-63XL. I don't think there's any cutting it any other way. I mean, look at those chunks just flying off. Those chunks are happening because basically a loss of chamber pressure inside of the SRB. Max, what's up?
So actually, EJ, I will step in there a little bit. So we have actually seen a bit of sparking like this also from Atlas before, which uses a variant of the GEM-63XL, I guess then it's just called the GEM-63. But Just like I was talking about earlier, solid rocket motors, by their nature, because of what they are with the solid propellant, burn a lot rougher, and the exhaust products are not just exhausted gas; it's also solid material, and some of it is sparking. So it's not it isn't uncommon or I guess not normal. It is normal to see sparking material coming out of the SRBs at some point in flight like that. However, because we saw that, it makes it very difficult to determine what amount of that sparking was like normal, I guess, exhaust product or exhaust byproduct, and what was part of at that point, failing solid rocket motor. But sparking like that is not uncommon to see at later points in flight before burnout. I will have to say that. I saw it on Vulcan Flight 3, and I've seen it on the last handful of flights of the Atlas V as well.
Yeah, that Max, you were out doing your tracks. That is what I said, like right during the ascent as it was happening. That these solid rocket boosters have aluminum chunks in them. They have flakes of aluminum, and what that aluminum is designed to do is, I don't really have any better way of explaining this in plain English, other than saying that it keeps the explosion nice and uniform. Those aluminum chunks fill up any potential air bubbles that get caught inside of the solid rocket propellant. So grain, as it's said in the industry, is packed and it's cast inside of the segment, similar to how you'd pour concrete, with the casing of the SRB basically being your form, right? Now, there is different things that you can do in the nozzle to get your grain to burn differently, like putting in a piece to make the propellant cast into different shapes to get different types of thrust curves and whatnot. But they do all get stabilized. Most solid rocket boosters flying today, from SLSs to the GM63s here, they're all using hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene ammonium perchlorate with an aluminum flake stabilizer. That aluminum is really what causes those sparks. You get what's called SRB slag, and you get it kind of puttering, it putters from time to time. But that very, very clearly is not what happened here. That is absolutely 100% throat burn through, and that comes from non-uniform ablation inside of the throat of the rocket engine. That could be the mechanical properties of the rocket engine. It could be the ablative material that you're using. But I think the biggest thing coming out of all of this is that this problem was supposed to be solved, and it's clearly not. That's not good. That's not a good look. No matter how you cut it, no matter how you cut your SRB propellant, that's not a good look, Max, is it?
No, and that's why, harking back to what I said earlier, it's worrying, or it's alarming, I think is what I said. It is quite alarming to see this happening, and let alone, this was not a flight to get Vulcan certified. It wasn't a cert flight. This was a mission for the Space Force, for the DoD, for an actual government entity here in the United States. Like, they take this incredibly seriously. So, yeah, it's alarming.
Yeah, Uncle Sam doesn't like it when, you say it's good and it's not. They tend to get a little antsy when DoD payloads are at risk. But once again, guys, we don't know if the mission failed. We don't know. It's a somewhat classified mission, so we don't know for sure. We do know that is blatantly a failure on the nozzle, but whether that affected overall mission performance, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. We don't have any telemetry back numbers here, so it's really kind of hard to say whether this mission worked or not. Now, either way, I'm pretty sure that you don't want explosions coming out the side of your rocket engine.
I mean,
I think we can all agree on that, but whether it failed or not, we don't know.
Even whether or not this mission does end up being a success, there is a lot to answer for on the part of ULA and Northrop Grumman in particular, who are the ones who actually manufactured the GEM 63 XLs. So, God, look at that debris.
That is
It's so clear, and it continues the whole way down to the ground. Like, I'm
God.
always so focused on my feed, like I don't notice that sort of stuff, but that, like, it goes the whole way back down.
That may, oh God, I don't. It's hard to tell from this perspective because you're so far away.
Yeah,
that looks like it didn't come down in the water.
No, I mean, my judgment would be that is in the vicinity of the pad. And we'll have to see. I hope we get a solid bit of information from ULA on this. But yeah, I mean, that stuff clearly made it the whole way down to the ground, and that on top of the very clear nozzle burn through, which I mean, definitely not what you want to see. Definitely not.
Now I'm honestly wondering, we saw those chunks come out of that booster in the early parts of ascent, but we were seeing chunks come off later in ascent. I'm wondering if more than one of those things failed.
I mean, at that point, with the nozzle failing, you were then exposing further parts of the motor that weren't meant to be exposed to the actual exhaust plume, especially on the outside casing when it splits open, and then you have all the layers of the composite structure there. So I guess it would have led to further. How do I say this?
Erosion of the propellant.
Well, not just of the propellant, but also of the actual structure of the booster itself. Because again, with the nozzle falling off, you were then exposing parts of your booster to the exhaust that were never meant to be exposed to the exhaust. So I guess it's, oh gosh, I can't think of the word. Anyway.
It is late, dude. We've been up for a long time.
It's 5 a.m. now. Jeez.
Yeah, well, we all suddenly got awake real quick after we saw that, didn't we? I was getting tired here for a second. Now I'm like, it popped.
Like you have this. Good. I had. So I remember for Vulcan Cert 2, when I saw the exhaust plume shape change, I remember like focusing on the monitor in a way that I haven't ever before. It's like, dude, don't lose it. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Keep it in frame. Keep it in frame. I had that exact same thought come into my head, where it was just extreme focus. Do not allow it to leave frame. Keep the whole thing in, because whatever happens, and you want to make sure that you capture it. It's just, and when you focus that hard as well, you wake up. And so we are very much awake now. But once the wave of adrenaline goes away, like we are going to crash pretty hard. But I think we would love to know, or at least have some better idea of what happened here before that happens.
Yeah, and we'll everybody, and once again, thank you for staying with us for this long. This really turned into a whole thing, huh?
Yes, it did, dude. Golly.
It's crazy. Yeah, this really turned into a whole thing. Thank you for sticking with us this whole time, guys. It is. Poof. So once again, this is the coverage that NASA Spaceflight is providing of ULA's United Launch Alliance SF-87 mission, where it very clearly, from this replay, if you watch the right-hand nozzle on the right side of your screen after it gets through the clouds, very clearly has a problem there. Now, whether that affected the mission or not, we don't know. It definitely affected performance. For the uninitiated, if you're not too familiar with rocket science, the flames need to come out the bottom, not the side. That is in fact a problem. But the rocket did very much appear to make it up into space. Now, the questions to ask here are, plain English way of saying this, if the flames are coming out the side of the SRB, you're not using all of that the solid rocket booster to push the rocket up. Did that affect performance to a point where this mission wouldn't have enough fuel to deliver the payload to its final destination? Those are certainly questions to ask, but I don't think, due to the relatively classified nature of this mission, I'm not sure we're going to get the answer there, which is very interesting. But as you can see from the sputtering on the replay there is clearly something very, very unhappy with that rocket engine. Max, what's up?
And again, solid rocket motors, the way they burn is or how harshly they burn is heavily dictated by the ambient temperatures and conditions that they're in. For Vulcan Cert 2 or Flight 2, it was a warm October morning, like probably in the lower 80s. Like I guess at that point in the day. So very warm, and we figured at that point, because it's a lot warmer outside, that the motor was just burning, I guess, that much more angrily, you know. But it's a lot cooler tonight than it was on that October morning in 2024 for Cert 2. It's a lot cooler tonight. And so this doesn't seem like it's a temperature issue, or I guess an environmental issue around the booster. This is something deeper within the actual design and or construction of the GEM 63s, that it may be something to do with in how many boosters that they perform, like some sort of rate of production. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Max, I'm inclined to agree with you that it seems like the mechanical properties of that nozzle are not really up to the task. Yeah, guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to be a doomer here or anything, but they said that problem was fixed, and it's clearly not. You know, I saw some folks asking in chat, in our live chat, like, you know, how can it explode and the rocket still make it? Long story short, you got lucky. You got lucky. You know, just because it failed, it didn't pop the vehicle this time, doesn't mean that it won't in the future. That's what I mean about deviant engineering. It worked this time, and it worked on Cert 2. That doesn't mean it's going to work all the time. This behavior needs to be understood in order, well understood, in order to be successfully mitigated on future flights. Because, yeah, flames coming out the side is not great. That, like, I don't have any simpler way to put that. It is not great. Parts of your rocket coming back down and landing, you know, at the launch site, you know, that's good if it's the whole rocket, but not parts. You don't want pieces coming back down. You need the whole booster, but this rocket doesn't do that. So parts coming back down and returning to launch site is really, really not a good look. That's not great. Anyway.
Sorry for being quiet. I'm just like trying to look at all this. I'm very much still here.
Yeah.
I am just trying to look at everything we saw, because there was so much going on this flight.
All right. So I'm a little bit behind on the support queue. Once again, we appreciate all the support here, guys. But yeah, when the failure's a failure, I'm assuming you guys probably want to talk about that. But let me plow through some of this support queue. We do appreciate every one of us that, you know, stayed up with us tonight or got up with us in the morning on this here. So I'm gonna plow through this, and yeah, then we'll get back to talking about solid rocket booster nozzle liberation. All right, so we got Mike Anderson, 3334 with a $2 super chat. Can we talk about Centaur 4, please? No, we don't. Dude, first rule of Centaurs, you don't talk about Centaur 4. You know what the second rule is? You do not talk about Centaur 4. Man. We got Mark Snow becoming a Pad Rat member. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, dude. We got Vanessa Janssen, 98, with a €5 super chat. US and Deutschland emoji. Let's go. All right, schnell. Okay, we got H90 with a $2.39 super chat. That methane exhaust plume is just beautiful. Yeah. After the solid rocket booster separated, yeah, we had a beautiful shot, Max, of those BE4s burning bright blue, and man, is that pretty.
I mean, it's so on brand for the BE4s to be burning blue. Oh, Kevin in the back channel. So
no, I think that's just separation. I think we're all, that looks okay to me. I think right before, can we look again at right before that?
Yeah.
A little bit early.
Freeze frame.
So
Sorry.
at this point in
Sorry, I don't
flight,
want to
there's
get claimed.
still SRB burnout is like right about there. So at this point, there's basically no thrust, if any, coming out of the SRBs. There still could be some leftover burning debris, like right there. Oh no, that was just separation. Those were these SEP motors firing, I think, if there were any, or the explosive balls. I can't remember which Vulcan has off the top of my head. But yeah, I think separation didn't look bad on. I think, to be honest, it looked normal. They all appeared to separate in their normal way. The orange in the plume now is the last remnants of the thrust coming out of the back of the GEM 63 XLs. Because obviously once burnout happens, you're left with nothing coming out except maybe some leftover smoke and sparks. But at this point, it's pretty much just the methane plume from the BE force taking over.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We got replays here from all the tracks that we have from Jerry and D and Max out in the field, guys. Yeah, that's from our teams that are out here. And that's why I want to get through the support queue, because the support like this is what makes these shots possible. So we can sit here and look at this thing and be like, oh, that failed. Oh, that failed. And we use it as a teaching moment to hopefully get people more invested into space flight. So I'm going to pop through the rest of this here. We got Rosebud53 with a $10 super chat. Couldn't process tip. Thanks, EJ. You're welcome. And then Rosebud again, $2 super chat. Stuff happens. Yes, absolutely. MotoKid 6008. What's up, MotoKid? $50 super chat. Has anyone praised the BE Force for saving this rocket twice now? You know what? That's probably a good idea at this point.
BE Force and margins on propellant. How about that? Yeah.
And also just straight up gimbal authority if it came down to it.
Yep. We got Mike Anderson with a $5 super chat again. Classified nozzle performance, or performance int, maybe.
Nozzle. EJ. So would you say the nozzle was nozzleant?
It was very nozzleant. It did not nozzle. You guys asked us to say nozzle again. We're gonna do it. All right. Nick B with a $5 super chat. Appreciate the coverage. Wouldn't have seen the observation in real time without your work. Thank you. Oh, our pleasure's all on this side of the screen, Nick. I assure you. All right, we got Chad Omen with a $3.68 super chat. That's $5 Canadian there, bud. Oh, thanks. There's no shot. There's no shot NASA could trust launching Starliner on Vulcan. Period. Chad, yes and no. This behavior is clearly something that's recurring, and the more flight data you have, the better. Obviously, you don't want flight data like this on an operational mission. Deviant engineering is something that's warranted during a testing regime. We are well past testing with Vulcan. That's why it's not good. That doesn't mean it couldn't be fixed someday. But yeah, right now, Vulcan is not slated to launch anything but Department of Defense missions, commercial missions, and mostly Amazon missions as well. But that doesn't mean it couldn't be human rated someday. You know, it might be. It depends. If someone's going to pay ULA enough, they might work. Who knows? So we got Mike Anderson again with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. We all remember the shuttles had erosion and burn-throughs on lots of flights. It was not a big deal until it was. Well, yeah, that's the general gist of what I'm getting at, Mike, with deviant engineering. Now, I will say that, segmented solid rocket boosters aren't the same as a single casing SRB. We're talking about two different designs here. Max, if I'm remembering correctly, the segmented SRBs are made out of steel. These GEM 63s are composite overwrap.
And they're also the largest composite overwrapped solid rocket motors in the world right now. So yeah, much different construction. I think there's a bit of difference in the actual propellant chemistry, maybe. But the big difference here is just in the way the motors are built. With SLS and the space shuttle, you had steel casings that were all held in with pins for each segment, with like hundreds on each ring. And then obviously you had O-ring sealing between each segment joint. But in this case, it is just a single composite casing holding all of this propellant. And good.
ULA has just tweeted.
Have they?
Okay. What do we got? Okay, so ULA has, this is a post from them on X right now, saying that they did have an observation early during the flight on one of the 4 solid rocket motors. Team is currently reviewing the data. The booster, upper stage, and spacecraft continued to perform on a nominal trajectory. Well, that's good that, well, long story short, the rocket did compensate for it. Still, this is not a problem that you want to have here. You do not want to get the SRB not doing exactly what you want it to do on operational missions. That's not ideal. But once again, BE4 is compensating and getting that payload up into space, doing work. I think that's a very big testament to the design of those motors.
Yeah, shout out to the BE4. Major shout out to the BE4.
Yeah, there you go. We got it up on the screen there. Yeah, observation during early flight on one of the 4 solid rocket motors. Team is currently reviewing the data. Now, if people are wondering what that means, reviewing the data means going back and looking at the telemetry. Every rocket is basically downloading or offloading tons of bits of data a second on how the vehicle is performing. And you know, it's somewhat similar to like a cockpit voice recorder on an airplane. All of this telemetry basically tells you what the vehicle is doing on the ascent. And that's what that telemetry is used to analyze. Well, you know, I was saying a little bit earlier, is the rocket doing what you want it to do? Well, I don't know. Let's look at the data. You know, let's look at the data. So when they say they're reviewing the data, they're basically trying to find any off nominal, so what's called a red line condition in your telemetry to see if anything's wrong. So like a loss of chamber pressure on the SRB during the burn would indicate some type of failure in your telemetry. And that's the kind of stuff they're looking for. They're going to take that data that they reviewed, that telemetry, and they're going to compare it to, you know, rocketed maybe the other 3 boosters that are performing correctly and see where the data differentiates. And then you got to figure out why it did that. So first of all, you got to prove something went wrong. I mean, it's pretty obvious from the ascent footage that we have that something did go very wrong. Now, not compromising the mission, which is great. That is what you want at the end of the day. You want a mission success. But yeah, reviewing the data and checking it and checking the telemetry and checking for weird blips in the telemetry is what they mean when they say they're reviewing the data. Yeah, everybody throws that around. Oh, we're reviewing the data. They do that all the time. That's what that means. You're going back and looking for red line conditions. And also, there it is. If you guys like how Chadley the BE4 engine is and how it's saved Vulcan's tail section at this point, yeah, it's very Chadley. Chad J Thunder engine right there. We have BE4 shirts. Less pressure, more space. I mean, that statement is extremely applicable right now. My goodness. Less pressure in your SRBs, more space for the BE4 to do some work. We do have those over in our NSF shop if you want them. That's pretty funny, man. Kevin, thank you for teeing that up. That was perfect. Oh, dear. Oh, boy. Wow. So here, we got another replay here of the SF-87 launch. Once again, if you're just tuning in with us, you're you know, getting your early morning coffee and wondering why the heck we're babbling on here at 5:30 in the morning Eastern Time. We're covering ULA's Vulcan VC4S SF-87 mission. Now, if that just sounded like I told you a fax machine serial number, it's ULA's United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, and it took off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Space Launch Complex 41, at 4:22 a.m. Eastern Time. This mission is a mission for the Department of Defense. It's a mission for the Space Force. What that mission is up to the Space Force, and it's classified. I'm sorry. We could tell you, but then we'd have to leave, and I'm not finishing that because that's bad to say. But, you know, the quote from Top Gun, you know what I'm talking about. Now, on ascent for this mission, there was something wrong. Vulcan does have 4 attachable solid rocket boosters. They're GEM-63s. They're made by Northrop Grumman. GM-63XLs, I should say. They're made by Northrop Grumman, and one of them popped. The bottom of it kind of popped. A partial failure in the nozzle section of one of the 4 GEM-63XL boosters. See all those sparks coming out? That's not great. You don't want that. That is not ideal behavior. And our beautiful replays here from our photographers and media folks down there at the pad showing exactly that anomalous behavior. Wow, that's really not good. Oh man. Okay, Max, are you about to head out?
It does seem that way. I do have to be ready in the event that we are given the all clear to go pick up cameras. We are still waiting on word from Space Launch Delta 45, though. But nonetheless, I still have other cameras to attend to and try and get this footage out as quick as I can. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming to hang out with us tonight. I know it was a very early morning for us here in the U.S. and for those of you who were here also watching. And also thank you for hanging out with us for as long as you have after the launch, because obviously there was lots to talk about and lots to look at. So thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your support greatly, and we hope to see you again soon.
All right, Max, thanks for joining us. I think, as Max heads out, D, are you still with me?
I sure am.
Are you tired, or we think we should call it a day here on this cast?
It has been a long night. ULA is looking at their data. We're going to keep looking at this footage, but I do think it is about time to close things up for this morning I can't even pretend to say this evening or this night. It's morning now.
I'll tell you what, D, I've said this evening many times during this cast, but I'm just going to go through the rest of the support here. We have ODST Moody with a $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. We have Chad Oman. Hey, I'm not your bud pal. Well, I'm not your buddy guy. And then we have Nick B with a $2 super chat just because. And on that incredible super chat message, I think this is where we're going to leave you guys. We will... If you follow us on our socials, NASASpaceflight on X, we're on Blue Sky, we're all over the place on every social. Just search for NASASpaceflight. If you want to update and kind of a follow-up to what this mission, we will give you that information as soon as we get it. All right, so be sure to follow us over there on all the socials. And yeah, we'll get the information as it comes in. We are NASASpaceflight. We are a space news organization. We'll try to get you the news hot off the press as soon as we get it. So, I think we're going to call it here. I am EJ. I've been your master of ceremonies for the SF-87 mission from United Launch Alliance. We had Kevin, Michael Reed in the back channel being the Chadliest of Chadly editors and producers here, showing all this footage, bringing us this footage hot off the press during the cast. Kevin, thank you very much for pulling the levers and pushing all the buttons. Once again, I'm EJ, your host. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we will see you soon.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange!
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.